In today's video, I'm going to try to build an E-field detector into a PP3 battery box. If we get the same ones as I've got, we're going to start by taking them apart. Lever off this cover, and we can also take out the bit that connects to the battery, and that will come with the switch. I'm going to drill the hole that the wires went through out to 5mm to take the LED. If you're using a smaller LED, and I can't see why a smaller one wouldn't work, you might get away without it. I think the hole is 4mm to start with. So reassemble and drill in there with a 5mm drill bit and take that cover out again. And to swap the drill bit for a 1.5mm drill, and this is because I'm going to use an aerial made from brazing rod, which is a 1.6mm brazing rod. I'm going to drill into this post that sticks up because it seems a good housing for the wire. I'm going to drill in sideways right at the edge of the casing. Being very careful with this. I've gone all the way through, but you only need to go through one layer. And I'm then going to cut very carefully a slot down from the top using a craft knife to meet that hole. So that hole is through there. It only needs to go through one layer actually. So I'm now going to cut downwards on that post to remove a little bit as far as the hole so that this wire that I'm going to use fits down it. So I'm going to have to just take a little bit more off. Until my wire will fit in quite tightly. Now I'm going to cut a piece of the wire. This is going to make the aerial or the pickup, and I want it to come about 25 to 30mm out of the case. So I'm going to cut a piece about 50mm long. I'm going to try and bend the end of that over to a right angle. I'll probably actually need to do that in a vise and use a hammer to flatten it slightly, but this is going to go through there. So I also want to drill through that hole and out of the other side of the casing. With my 1.5mm drill. So that will stick out that side eventually when I've bent the other end over. And the bent end will fit into that slot and stick out just beyond the edge here. Of course, I will be using a file to make a nice safe rounded end, safe-ish rounded end on here, and maybe put some sort of cap on there as well. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do is to get rid of the red lead. And then I'm going to swap over the terminals on the switch. And this is purely because I want to avoid the lead that I'm going to solder on here touching the middle connector. So I'm going to take this end one off. I'm going to change that lead to this end. Oops. Try that again. I should have known better than to try and do soldering on camera. Okay, that's better. Now that's the negative side that the switch is in, and the negative side of an LED, I'm going to use a green one this time, is the shorter leg. Shall we use this one? I'll show you this one because this is a new one. So the shorter of the two legs is negative, and also where there's a little bit taken away on this rim of the case. So there's a little flat bit on the rim of the case, and that is negative. So a bit taken away from the case, negative. Decided to use a green one. I've only just realised that someone has actually trimmed the legs on this one because the positive is shorter. Now I want the LED to fit in the case up here, and I want it to reach the switch, which is in here. So the negative side I'm going to bend out and put the switch in place. I need it to reach the middle terminal of that. So bent about here. I'm going to cut that just beyond the bend and then solder that to the switch. It's a little bit shorter. Please take your time and get this right. And this time I'm just going to switch off the camera while I solder that bit, and then I'll show you the next step. So the switch and the LED are connected together. Now we're going to look at the transistor. If we look at this side, the flat side, it's got 3 legs. The left one is the drain. The middle one is the source, and that's going to go to the positive terminal. And the right hand one, as we look at it there, is the gate, which is going to go to the pickup point, the sort of aerial. So the drain is going to go to the LED. The source is going to go to the positive terminal. And the gate is going to go to the aerial. Now, I'm going to mount it, because there isn't much space, I'm going to mount it just behind here. So what I'm going to do is just tape that down and then solder the source to the positive to hold it in place. So now I've done that, I'm going to solder the positive side of the LED to the drain. So I'll be cutting it down, bending that round, struggling to fit it in the case, and then snip that to length so that it fits in place, and solder those two together. I have checked that it still fits in the case, it's very tight in there, and the last step will be to solder the gate to the sort of aerial detector. So we've now got it in the case. The LED will be held down by the cover when we put it in. We're now going to put our little bit of brass wire in, which I've bent a little bit on the end. I'm starting to wish I had cut the other side away, but we'll see how it goes. Because I drilled right the way through, I could probably put the gate from the transistor through that hole that I drilled by mistake and actually solder it on the top of here. But first I've got to push this down until it clicks into the hole at the bottom. That's nice. So now I'm going to try and feed this leg of the transistor into the hole that I made and solder it onto that brass. Right, that's got that through there. Now let's try and solder. Gosh, there's a fiddly to get the battery in. So now that we've finished soldering, we can push this little retaining bit back in. Make sure you get it on the bits of the switch, and then this bit that sticks up has got to go in that hole. And hopefully the case will go on. We can switch on and bring a charged piece of material towards it, and that's from quite a long way away. Its polythene rod is affecting it. So this is the finished cased E-field detector. It's got a little sort of aerial that sticks up, topped with a blob of solder so it isn't very sharp. It's got an on-off switch. If we charge up polythene rod, and bring it close, this is well out of shot. Let's move this across the other side of the bench so you can see how close I get when it goes out. So that's about ½ a metre away, and then an acrylic rod. Sometimes it often overloads and goes out, so we can touch something earth and reset it. And then when the acrylic rod comes close, it should go brighter. In fact, it's probably better to have it out and then bring the rod closer to get it to light up.